Thank you for joining this lesson. We're going to discuss linear motion. A coast bus left Nairobi at 8 a.m. and traveled towards Mombasa at an average speed of 80 kilometers per hour. At 8:30 a.m., Lamu bus left Mombasa towards Nairobi at an average speed of 120 kilometers per hour. Given that the distance between Nairobi and Mombasa is 400 kilometers, determine part 1 the time Lamu bus arrived in Nairobi. So the Lamu bus is leaving Mombasa towards Nairobi at 8:30 and it's moving at 120 kilometers. Therefore, now that it is going to cover the 400 kilometers, we can get the time taken. Time is usually given by distance out of speed. So this is going to give us when we divide a distance of 400 and a speed of 120, we're going to get 400 out of 120. This is going to give me 3 hours and a third. 3 and a third hours. This translates to 3 hours 20 minutes because a third an hour is equivalent to 20 minutes. Now we need to take the starting time of 8:30 plus 3 hours 20 minutes. This is going to give us 11 hours. Therefore, the time it will arrive is 11:50 a.m. the same day, or 11:50 hours in the 24-hour clock system. Again, we are determining Roman 2 the time the two buses met. These two buses will meet at some point. Remember, one is from Nairobi. If this is Nairobi, then we get to draw a very straight line here and claim that Mombasa is on the other side. We have Nairobi and Mombasa. From 8 a.m., Coast bus was traveling when the Lamu bus had not begun its journey until 8:30. Therefore, for the half hours of traveling, 30 minutes, which is half an hour, and the Coast bus is traveling at 80, it will cover 40 kilometers. Therefore, there is a distance already covered by the Coast bus before the Lamu bus began its journey. Therefore, from Nairobi, there is a distance of 40 kilometers, which has already been narrowed down by one of the buses. Now it means because the total distance is 400, then there is a distance of 360 between the two buses, and this is by 8:30. So by 8:30 a.m., there is an existing distance of 360 kilometers. That means this is our relative distance, 360 kilometers. Then there is a relative speed, in which case, because the vehicles are approaching one another, we're going to add 80 kilometers per hour and 120 kilometers per hour. This is going to be 200 kilometers per hour. Therefore, we have relative distance and relative speed. We can calculate relative time by taking the relative distance of 360 out of the relative speed of 200. This is going to give us 1 hour and 0.8. 0.8 is equivalent to 48 minutes. 1 hour 48 minutes. That is the time they will take to narrow the relative distance between them. Now that we have the relative time taken for them to meet, and they started traveling together at 8:30, then the exact time of meeting is going to be when we take 8:30 and we add 1 hour 48. We're going to have, this is 30 minutes plus 78 plus 48. It gives us 78 minutes. So we're going to have 18 minutes and we carry 1 hour. This is 10. So it's either 10, 18 hours or 10:18 a.m. the same day. This will be the meeting time. That will be the meeting time. Again, in Roman 3, we to determine the distance from Nairobi to the point where the buses meet. From Nairobi to where they met. Therefore, from Nairobi, if they are meeting after 360 over 200 hours, then we can get the distance using one of the vehicles. And I'm going to use two approaches. In this case, the first approach, I'm going to use the first vehicle, which is moving at 80. They're going to move for 360 out of 200 hours, and this vehicle is moving at 80. Therefore, when we multiply 360, then we divide by 200, we're going to get 144 kilometers. This is the distance that will be moved by the coast bus until they meet. And now we should know that before covering the 144 for them to meet, it had already covered a 40 from Nairobi. Therefore, it will be 40 and 144 kilometers to give us 184 kilometers from Nairobi. That is where they are going to meet. 184 from Nairobi. Alternatively, we can say they are going to meet after 360 out of 200 hours. And when we consider the Lamu bus, which is moving at 120, it's going to cover, when we take 360 by 120 out of 200, this is going to give us 216 kilometers. But we should know that it is 216 kilometers from Mombasa. So the Lamu bus is from Mombasa. That means for us to get distance from Nairobi, we are supposed to take the total distance minus the distance from Mombasa. So from Nairobi, when we take 400 minus this value, we're going to get 184. 184 kilometers. Finally, we got a part 4 here. How far the coast bus is from Mombasa when the Lamu bus arrives in Nairobi. So the Lamu bus is arriving in Nairobi at 11:50 a.m. So we want to know how far the coast bus will be from Mombasa. How far the coast bus will be from Mombasa when the Lamu bus arrives in Nairobi. So we should know that the coast bus began traveling at 8 exactly. And now by 11:50, when the Lamu bus will be arriving in Nairobi, we can check where the coast bus will be. So all the way from 8 a.m. until 11:50, the time of arrival of the Lamu bus, then we're going to get 50 minutes, sorry. Then these are 3 hours. 3 hours, 50 minutes. This is all the time when the coast bus has been traveling, but it has not arrived. So where is this coast bus so far? When we take 3 hours, then 50 out of 60 to make them hours, and it's going at a speed of 80. Then check the distance it will have covered from Nairobi. The distance it will have covered from Nairobi. So when I multiply these, I'm getting 306 and 2/3 kilometers. This is the distance it will have covered from Nairobi, because it is from Nairobi. But now we want the distance it is from Mombasa. Therefore, 400 minus 306 and 2/3, we're going to get 93 and 1/3. 93 and 1/3 kilometers from Mombasa. That is where the coast bus is going to be. Thank you for following. Subscribe to this channel and share with friends.